Hey guys, welcome to another edition of Dan Does Tech Stuff. So today we're going to be doing a video on the Switch 2 and also figuring out which accessories from the Switch 1 that also can work on the Switch 2. So if you've already bought the Switch 2, congratulations. I think it's an amazing system. Been using it for my day-to-day gaming, and obviously I still love my Switch 1. So it's still one of my favorite consoles of all time as far as the handheld gaming is concerned. But if you've been watching my channel, you know that I love to repurpose old technology. So instead of tossing things out, I want to see if they can be reused on the newer consoles. So obviously the form factor on the Joy-Cons, you can see this is like, I don't know, maybe 18 to 20% bigger than the original Joy-Cons. But today's video is to see, can you use the Joy-Cons on the Switch 2? And let's find out. So what you need to do is go to your Switch 2. Let's go ahead and zoom in a little bit. What you got to do is go to your controller settings here and click into that. You're going to go down to where it says how to pair controllers. And then you're going to go to other pairing methods. Okay. So when you do that, you're going to go ahead and hit the sync button on the first Joy-Con, and it should pop up. Boom. So now that's showing as player 1, and then you want to do the same thing for the other Joy-Con. Hold that button down. It's going to start looking for the sync, and sure enough, let's see if it works. And voila. So it's crazy. So I'm amazed. These new Joy-Con 2s for the Switch 2, they're $94. So that's a lot of money, okay? So if you have the Joy-Cons from your Switch 1, you definitely can use them on your Switch 2, which is awesome. So that will save you some money, and you're also repurposing old technology that will still work for all your games, so which is amazing, okay? So that is a big plus. Now, the only downside is you can see that the Switch 2 uses that magnetic input, right? So there's no rail system here, okay? So the only way really to charge these Joy-Cons when they're out of juice, you either got to put them back on your Switch 1, right? Or if you don't, you got to buy one of these carousels with the railings like I have here, and you can just take one out, put one in, and then that way you can charge your Joy-Cons. Okay, so that's I got this for 20 bucks on Amazon, so you definitely want to be able to charge your Joy-Cons in that sense, right? For the Switch 1. So that is a big plus. All right, so what else can we do? Now let's take a look at the dock. So the dock is hard to find if we're talking about the Switch Dock 1, okay? These were about $99, I think. But unfortunately, the Switch 1 dock, if you try to dock it, it looks like it could fit, but unfortunately it's too big, and that USB-C in the bottom does not work. So that doesn't work. So the Switch 1 dock is no bueno. So that's another cost that if you want to have multiple switches around, you might have to get a secondary Switch dock. Okay, so you can see, look at the size difference of the dock. Switch 1, let's go ahead and zoom out a little bit. There's a Switch 2 dock versus a Switch 1 dock, right? So Switch 1 dock does not work. What else comes with it? Oh, power plug. So the power plug on the Switch 1, let's see if that will charge it. Okay, so we'll go ahead and unwrap that. And I don't think will there be any issues with using the Switch 1 plug. I got a few of those lying around, so we'll go ahead and plug that in. Boom, right here. And let's see if we get the charging indicator to come on. I'll do the top one here, or let's do the bottom one. And survey says, yep, it works. So the Switch 1 power plug does work on the Switch 2, which is great, but not through the dock. Okay, so the dock doesn't work, but the plug from the Switch 1, that brick there works. So that's good. Okay. Now what about the Pro controller? So this is a big one right now. Okay, so the Pro controller here was $69 on the Switch 1. Okay, so that's huge. And let's see if this one will work for the Switch 2. And typically what I like to do is I like to use the USB method. So I'll plug a USB cable in, and then plug in the cable. So let's go ahead and give that a shot. So I'll do it from the top, like that, and I will plug it into the Switch Pro controller. And let's see if we have anything. I'll press the home button on it, and the lights will come on. And yep, that works. Okay. So this Pro controller for the Switch 1 in fact does work. So the Switch Pro controller, and it's available right now. Unfortunately, it's rather expensive. So this is $84 for the Switch 2 controller. But if you have the original Switch 1 controller, you still have the ability to play those games too. And so if you compare that Pro controller versus the original Switch controller, there's not much of a difference. Maybe color, but as far as like having the extra buttons, you can see there's a C button there, and then on the bottom there's like an audio port there. The 3.5 millimeter, you can plug in an audio jack, and then on the very back you have some extra buttons on the back. So those are probably the only difference. So this is still viable. Will save you money if you already have the Pro controller for the Switch 1. Okay, so that's a big plus. Now the other thing we can try is, oh, okay, so on the Switch dock, the original one, you'll notice that it didn't have an Ethernet port. So it only had HDMI, USB, and then your charging connector, right? So you had to buy one of these guys. And this is a USB to Ethernet. And so you would just attach that on the side here like so. And then plug in your Ethernet here. So now with the Switch 2, it has that already built in, which is nice. Okay, so you've got your power, your HDMI, and then you've got Ethernet. Okay, so happy to tell you that obviously the Ethernet port is built in, so you don't need to add this accessory right here. But if you have it from the Switch 1, you can plug right into that dock, and you can use Ethernet that way. Okay, so again, all about trying to figure out if you can repurpose old technology on newer consoles. So with that said, what doesn't work? The Switch 1 dock doesn't work, doesn't fit. You can see here, you got lots of wobble and no bueno there. Your Switch 1 charging port, charging brick, that works, so that's okay. Boom, that one's good. Your Joy-Cons from the original Switch 1, those will work, so that's going to be something to keep in mind. That'll save you some money. And also the Switch 1 Pro controller will work as well, so that will save you some money as well. Okay, so with that said, hopefully you guys are enjoying your Switch 2 just as much as I am. And again, I was reading that the Switch 2 will be available pretty soon. Nintendo's working on their next wave of inventory, so be on the lookout for that. With that said, if you found today's information valuable, please go ahead and hit that like button. It really helps the channel out. If it's your first time coming to the channel, please consider hitting that subscribe button. And with that said, I always say happy gaming, take care of yourself and each other, and I will catch you on the next video. Bye for now.